On this week's episode of the WNP podcast, let the division breakdowns begin. Stay tuned. Episode 148 of the We're Not Professionals podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and join me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. Chase, how are you?
I am doing swell, thank you for asking. Now that we remembered to plug in the
Did we? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I did. Okay,
the
good.
soundboard here again. Get out. No, I'm happy to see that we accomplished that goal this time. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Chase was alluding to our Bolts broadcast episode we just recorded, as it was a killer show. It really was. But 25 minutes into it, we realized, wait, we've just been recording on my computer this whole time, just a computer microphone. So not great. Let me just audition real quick. Okay, we're good. Just needed to make sure.
Good stuff. That makes me happy to see.
Yeah, it was a little scary, but nonetheless.
I mean, it was still a good content episode.
Right.
It was definitely a very good content episode. So we decided not to re-record because we wouldn't be our true authentic selves on a re-recording, and time frame doesn't really permit. So,
and we've done it a couple of times, and
yeah,
they always just come out so bad.
Yeah.
But
yes, indeed.
Hey, it is what it is. On today's episode of the WNP podcast, man, an absolute banger coming towards you. Broncos country, let's ride, baby. Russell Wilson.
Why is he just the cheesiest, corniest dude on the planet?
I love him so much.
Oh, my Lord.
It's so funny. But anyways, we have some news to talk about around the league. Also, I made a big bet with a coworker. Can't wait to talk about that. And after the news, we are going to be doing a division preview for the AFC and NFC South. We're going to give you records, all the insight on what teams will be doing in this upcoming season. But, Chase, let's start with that big bet, shall we?
Yeah, let's hear it.
$20. So, I mean, I guess it wasn't huge. But the bet was, and if you listen to the Bolts broadcast, you will know the name Ryan. Ryan is a coworker of mine, and we've talked about him on the Bolts broadcast a couple of times. Well, Ryan and I, big sports fans, we talk a lot about sports, and he's a big Lions fan. He said that he thinks the Lions are going to be much improved this year. I agree. However, he wanted to bet me $20 that the Lions this year will have a better season than the Bengals did last year, which basically means win the Super Bowl.
What?
I don't know.
If you want to say they have a better regular season record, that's even ridiculous to say. But at least I could understand you wanting to have faith in your team. This is just stupidity.
Also told me that Jamison Williams is a better receiver than Jamar Chase. So
strike two.
And then he said he thinks Aiden Hutchinson's overrated and wouldn't be shocked if he's under 10 sacks every single season.
This guy makes zero sense.
Hey, I don't know.
If you're going to have blind Lions hope drink the Kool-Aid, you got to think Aiden Hutchinson's going to be an all-pro every single year.
Yeah, like Graham does.
Yeah, legitimately. Like this makes no sense. This is very confusing.
Speaking of Graham, do we know if Graham invited any of the Lions players to his wedding?
I don't know.
I feel like that's something.
It's something Graham would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
probably not.
Probably not.
He's a weenie.
I took that bet. I doubt that I'm ever going to be able to get the money because I'm sure hoping to be out of that job and, at least, like a month by now. I'm just gone.
Don't need to smack your microphone. You don't need to get on the microphone. You
Plus, he goes back to school in like a month. So.
Well, you know where he goes to school, so you need to go find him.
Great point. He also told me what apartment complex he lives in.
So you can go shake him down just like that.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. He's allowed to seek a trade. No shock here. The 49ers need to give Trey Lance the reins, and I'll be honest, Jimmy Garoppolo, a great locker room guy, great locker room personality. It's kind of like the New England situation last year where if you had Cam Newton in the same locker room as Mac Jones, I'm sorry, but Mac Jones is not going to be the guy a team is going to be, riding with. It's going to be Cam Newton, so they got Cam Newton out. I think very similar here. A lot of the players love Jimmy Garoppolo, and it would be hard for Trey Lance to take over as that vocal leader, as the guy. So now they're looking to get Jimmy Garoppolo out of there.
It really doesn't make sense having his salary on their books just to be backup quarterback anyway. He can go somewhere where he's good enough to start in the NFL. I mean, he's probably better than like 7 or 8 current starters at least, if not more than that. So he can go to a team that needs that starter, maybe needs someone to be the next in line. Maybe, there's really a couple places he can go. Obviously, the Panthers, they're crossed off, not happening. Seattle's a team that's looking for a quarterback. The Browns could be looking for a quarterback. The Giants, maybe they want someone that can come in if Daniel Jones doesn't work. Maybe the Bucs want someone for when Tom Brady retires. Mm-hmm. There's some options that could go down here, and I really would expect him to be traded here pretty soon. It is, I don't know if it was what the exact date was, but Jimmy G can begin throwing in August, so he's going to be good to throw by the time that camp really starts rolling around, and that's a good thing. That'll be good to help him kind of adjust to a team. It is going to be tough, however, though, to really absorb a playbook in a month like that, so it's going to be interesting to see wherever he lands, if he can take over the starting job right away. I think, maybe probably like a good situation for him would be to go to a team like the Giants or the Bucs, where you can let Daniel Jones start since he's got that playbook familiarity at this point, since he's been with the team all offseason. Or if things don't go well, then you can go to Jimmy G once he knows it more. Or he goes to Tampa and Tom Brady has a great year, retires, and Jimmy G's ready to take over. I think those are 2 very good options, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've heard those 4 teams all in the mix, the ones you mentioned: Cleveland, the Giants, the Seahawks, and the Bucs. Kind of don't want to see him to go to Tampa, though, just because I'm not really sure how that's going to work out again. Brady got Garoppolo out of there with the help of Robert Kraft. How would that relationship look? Like, is there still some maybe tension between the two?
I really don't know, because I don't think the tension was because the two just didn't like each other. I think the tension really grew because of Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was ready to move on with Jimmy G as his guy. Like, he wanted Jimmy G to be the starter going forward. Mm-hmm. Robert Kraft is just like, no, Tom Brady is not going anywhere. And Tom Brady's like, yeah, I agree. Tom Brady's not going anywhere, just to go somewhere 5 years later. And they got Jimmy G out of there, and they did treat him poorly. Like, he, the TB12 facility that they had there, like they were locking him out of that. I remember those stories and stuff. So maybe there's a bit of animosity, but at the end of the day, I don't think it'd be that big of a deal. I think they'd be able to get over it. They'd be just fine. At the end of the day, they're both pros. They're both true NFL quarterback mentalities, where they can just put that type of stuff behind them. And even if they still do hold that resentment a little bit, they can just, leave it in the locker room and go on the field and perform just fine. So I don't think it'd be that big of an issue.
Fake it till you make it, eh?
Pretty much.
All right, Chase, let's talk about some retirements in the NFL. A couple big players, but also a really weird one. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Eddie Goldman retires at 28 years old. Still, a solid football player, but it's just 13 days after signing with the Atlanta Falcons. A little bit weird there.
Yeah, and I don't remember who it was on the Saints, but maybe it was Cam Jordan or something. But someone tweeted, all it took was 13 days with the Falcons to decide to retire with like a laugh emoji or whatever. That was pretty funny. But it was really weird, because very solid pro, very solid football player. Someone that can still contribute. And I know Atlanta's situation isn't great. Maybe he decided he has the money he needs. Maybe he's got some pre-existing health stuff where he's like, I don't want to make this any worse. If so, then that's fair, but it was definitely out of nowhere.
Yeah, some other names. Ryan Switzer, he retires. He plans to go be a coach. You've got Mitchell Schwartz, Richie Incognito as 2 offensive linemen, and then Jason McCourty also hanging up the cleats.
And those 3 names especially aren't very surprising. Ryan Switzer is still a bit younger, so maybe he could have held on somewhere, but those 3 names, older players, really not that surprising, especially on those 2 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Fair.
All right, I guess it's time to talk about Madden. And, we've been talking about it in our group chat on Twitter on how, Madden and EA Sports, we respect the hell out of them for, doing what they do. Putting a video game together, I absolutely could not do that. But who the hell is in charge of the ratings? Because some of them haven't been great.
No, and Madden's gotten pretty open about how their ratings work the last couple of years. They talked about how they have ratings adjusters at practices, games, all the stuff. So it's kind of like a scout, essentially. Like, you're out there scouting and you're determining a player's talent on paper. So the problem with that is there's no one standard. It's everybody's subjective opinion. So you have one guy that goes to the Bears, one guy that goes to the Lions, one guy that goes to the Bengals, and all three of those people, they look at players and look for things differently, so they see talent differently. And, that's the beauty of having a scouting department in a pro sports team. It helps you congregate all into one, and you get a couple eyes on a player, and it helps you decide what's best and what's not. But if you're only sending like one person to these teams, which I'm guessing is what they're doing, that's the problem, because at the end of the day, the talent is looked at differently. So I think it's kind of what we're seeing. Maybe someone like, just talk about like the linebackers, like Darius Leonard being the 5th rated linebacker. Like if you want to put Fred Warner over him, sure, but that's about it. Like at the end of the day, it could be someone that says, like how you talk about, he's we were talking the other day, like he's not some supreme pass rusher, doesn't get to the quarterback, and that's fair, but it doesn't change the fact that he's just like an absolute dominant linebacker in literally every other fashion, especially at the middle linebacker position. And someone probably values that pass rush too much, and it devalues him because of that. And at the end of the day, no, he's not he's better than the 5th best linebacker in the league. So that's definitely what's going on. I wish there was a better system for it, but I don't think they want to spend the money and resources on developing a better system, because who knows if it would actually lead to better sales, money, blah, blah, blah.
Right, and Madden, kind of a game that I haven't played, at least Madden 22, haven't really played much, and currently Madden 23, not pre-ordered, I don't know. It's going to be one of those where I kind of wait. I'm definitely not getting a day one.
I think I am. I'm at least gonna, we'll have the 10-hour trial for EA Play. Right. That'll be nice. But I like the changes that they're trying to make for franchise mode, because like it's the last 2 years, the most changes they've tried making franchise mode in quite some time. So it hopefully pans out and works out well. So I'm trying to be optimistic, because right now there's not a whole lot of video games that I enjoy. So I'm trying to be optimistic about the ones that I haven't had a history of enjoying, but it's kind of a wait and see thing.
Well, Madden's dropped 6 top 10 overalls. I kind of want to take a quick look at them, if you don't mind. Yeah. Starting with the wide receivers, they got Devontae Adams at 99. Understandable. Yep. I would still argue Devontae Adams, the best wide receiver in the league. Yep. Cooper Kupp, he comes in at number 2 at a 98.
Sure. I
get it. I also think, though, like, with everything he did, wouldn't be mad if there was just 299 overall wide receivers.
Yeah, I'm fine with the 98. That doesn't make much of a difference.
97, Tyreek Hill. Okay. DeAndre Hopkins at 96. I know you are still a big fan of DeAndre Hopkins. Injuries obviously slowed him down last year, but I feel like this is one of those situations similar to how I feel Derrick Henry is going to pan out this year, and that is that injuries really hurt their final great season. I think DeAndre Hopkins and Leonard Fournette both not going to be the same player they used to be. So I think DeAndre Hopkins at 96 too high.
Did you mean Derrick Henry, not Leonard Fournette?
Yes, Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Leonard Fournette came from that.
Well, Leonard Fournette's 260 pounds, so he's probably not going to have a great season either.
That's fair. But yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, he's no longer the 4th best receiver in the NFL, that's for sure. So I can understand that. Do I value more than you? Yes, I do. So he should still be someone that's rated fairly, but it is a bit high.
Stephon Diggs, 95. I'm okay with that. Justin Jefferson, 93. I feel like that's a little low.
Really, at the end of the day, right now, the only receiver you can argue is better than the NFL, Justin Jefferson, is Devontae Adams, in my opinion.
I think you'd say Cooper Kupp, too, with all that he just did.
Yeah, he dominated.
I think more talented, you could say Jefferson. Mike Evans at 92, Terry McLaurin, 91, Keenan Allen, 91.
What has Terry McLaurin shown?
That's a great point.
I like his talent at the end of the day, but you only see that talent 3 times a year. So if you're gonna have these type of overalls, you gotta have like a consistency meter as well.
I think it's fair to have Terry McLaurin at a 91 overall at the end of this season, because he is going to be better with Carson Wentz, and I will put my stamp on that.
You hope so. If not, then it just confirms that no matter what, he's just not gonna be good.
That's fair, but he will be.
We'll
put my stamp on it. 91 after this year, completely fine. And then Amari Cooper at number 10 at a 90 overall. He's taking a dip in play. Also, there's just, I don't know, a couple names out there that seem like they should definitely be in here.
I know you're a big trigger that Jamar Chase is not in there.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly fine with a second-year player not being ranked ridiculous high, because no matter, he's going to surpass that ranking that he is. He's like an 87 or something in this game to start, which is still very high for a second-year player, but he's going to be better by the end of the year. There's no doubt about it. I can understand, because you want to see him do it more than just once, and he's only had the ability to do it once, really, so I can understand.
Yeah. Also, Deebo Samuel not in there, so little bit.
Well,
weird.
he's a running back.
Fair. Let's not talk about the tight ends. I think this one was pretty good. Travis Kelce, number 1 at 98. George Kittle, 97. I'll just put the graphic on the screen for you guys so you'll be able to see it. I don't really have any big complaints. I think Mark Andrews should be closer to Kelce and Kittle than he should be like Waller and Hawkinson. He's only at a 93. Kittle and Kelce, 97s and 98s.
Which, for Madden purposes, for sure, Kittle can be ranked above Mark Andrews because he's a very sound blocker, where Mark Andrews isn't as much of that type. But when it comes to the receiving ability, I mean, Mark Andrews is better than George Kittle. That's just the truth. So maybe he should be even, maybe even the same overall, maybe slightly lower. But yeah, I agree with you there.
All right, top 10 edge rushers. You got Myles Garrett at number 1 at 99.
Which want to point out the actual edge rusher position is not in this game, because when I went onto the Madden ratings website and like tried looking things up, and it's still just defensive end and linebackers. So how they quantify as edge rushers, it doesn't even matter, because like they're still broken up into the defensive end and linebackers. It's stupid.
Yeah. So Myles Garrett 99, T.J. Watt only at 96. I personally see, both sides of the argument on who's better. I personally lean a little bit more towards T.J. Watt. But I think regardless, they should be, if not the same exact overall, just one overall difference. But
sure,
to have a big difference, 99 to 96, I mean, that's Madden just coming out and saying Myles Garrett is most definitely and easily the best edge rusher in the game.
I mean, I think he is the best edge rusher in the game, and T.J. Watt's the number 2. And
who had more sacks last year?
Who gets triple teamed every game?
T.J. Watt.
He really doesn't, though, because Casey Hayward there is there too much. And
you're right, Cameron Hayward.
Is it Cameron Hayward?
Yeah, Casey Hayward's the defensive back.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, so Cameron Hayward is there, and he eats up a lot of double teams as well too. So T.J. Watt sometimes faces double teams, sometimes faces single. He never got triple teamed. Where Myles Garrett did get triple teams at time last year. So like he won
at
despite
times.
Yeah, it wasn't, and he was more often than not double teamed, more often double teamed and triple teamed than T.J. Watt was.
Was he even top 5 in sacks last year?
I don't know. It's kind of hard when you're getting tackled by 3 people every single play. So you watch him play, and the talent's it's not even close in my opinion. And that he's most dominant, or the most talented, I mean, but like the most dominant guy, you can argue T.J. Watt because of the numbers and stuff. So yeah, they should be closer overall.
Also, Trey Hendrickson not being here hurts my heart a little bit.
He had 1 season.
What do you mean? He had 2 seasons in a row. In the past 2 years, there's only been 2 other players that have matched his number of sacks, and that is T.J. Watt and Aaron Donald.
He's had the good fortune of staying healthy. That's why.
Oh, okay, that means he's bad? What?
Yeah. I mean, he's average.
All right, top 10 linebackers. We know that Chase is upset that Darius Leonard was only the number 5. Looking at the list, I don't have any like huge complaints. I think Demario Davis a little bit high. Good player, definitely turned his career around a little bit, because a couple years ago he was not the same player, that's for sure. Levante David also, I feel like you could drop him a smidge, but overall I don't have huge problems with this list.
Yeah, it's fine, other than Leonard needs to be higher, but the rest is fine.
All right, let's hop into running backs, eh? This one's fun. Derrick Henry at 97, Nick Chubb 96, Christian McCaffrey 96. Those are your top 3. Zeke Elliott, Austin Eckler, both 88 overalls. A little bit interesting. I think Eckler at this point, we would agree, a better player than Zeke, especially because Zeke's not even the best running back on his team.
But he very clearly is.
Oh.
And Pollard. Zeke does a lot more. Maybe
Would you say that Zeke is better than
Tony Pollard?
No.
Than Austin Eckler?
Yeah.
I can understand why he's rated that way, because he does a lot more than Austin Eckler does, where Austin Eckler is primarily a receiving back who can run the ball as well, where Zeke is legitimately a do-it-all type back. So I can understand, because he's going to have higher ratings and a lot of those stats, where it makes him more balanced out that way. So I can understand why he's ranked the way he is.
Well, I think I'd prefer Austin Eckler and, pass protection too. And I think really the only thing that I would favor Zeke in is just running the ball up the gut. I don't know. I don't
know if I agree with that.
What do you think about Mixon being a 93 compared to Alvin Kamara's 90?
Mixon's a better running back.
Okay. Just wanted to see. Are you upset like Graham is with DeAndre Swift not even being in? I think the top 20 went down to 83 overall or something, and Swift wasn't on it.
I mean, yeah, he's a top 20 running back in the league, but like it's because he is that modern day running back where he's like the scat back type. He's more like an Aaron Jones where he's a receiver and like he hasn't really had a lot of rushing yards in his career. So I can understand why he's rated lower. He wasn't very efficient last year. Only had like 700 something yards, if I'm not mistaken, on the ground. So he's got to do it more to really prove that he's worth it.
All right, and very finally, top 10 safeties, Tyrann Mathieu at number 1, 94 overall.
I mean, Derwin James is the best safety in the league.
Is he? I feel like Derwin James is even a little overrated here just because he's always injured. And
it doesn't matter if you're injured.
It doesn't matter if you're healthy.
No, because that's why he has the numbers, because he's consistently playing where Derwin James is dominant every time he touches the field. Literally dominant.
I don't think he is.
But I think he is, and I don't think it's a debate.
I think that Budda Baker, Kevin Byard, Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates, Minkah Fitzpatrick not being on the list is crazy.
Yeah, that is indeed.
But I think those 5 guys all very well challenge Derwin James.
I disagree. I think Derwin James is on an island for safeties.
Hot take? I didn't know this was a hot take episode.
I don't think it's that hot of a take. I don't think it's a hot take as you think it is.
Okay.
But go look around consensus. The people lean more my way than your way.
I feel like they don't. I've seen a lot of Minkah love.
Like, well, Minkah should. It's absurd that he's not a top 10 safety in the league. Like, get the hell out of here.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm seeing a lot of people say Minkah's the best.
He's not the top. He's also not that.
I agree.
Top five guy. I can get there.
Yeah. I would say it's Jesse Bates, but he's leaving the Bengals.
So he sucks now.
Yeah, he does. It's terrible. God. All right, Deshaun Watson hearings. The NFL had a hearing with Deshaun Watson, and they determined with all of the information they got, there was no wrongdoing that has occurred. Deshaun Watson then came out after the trial, after the hearings, and said that if the NFL gives him a 1-year suspension, he plans to sue the NFL with the help of the NFLPA. He
can sue the NFL if he wants, but at the end of the day, he's not going that lawsuit because it's the same thing as any workplace. You know, people say, oh, why are you getting suspended if you get DUIs? I've seen people say that type of stuff. Well, at the end of the day, you can get fired from your job for getting a DUI, so it's the same thing. You're getting suspended from the NFL. You're making your company and making your team look bad. Even if he's found not guilty, he still allowed himself to be in a spot where he's in this situation to make all this become public and make himself look bad, make the team look bad, all this stuff. So at the end of the day, the NFL has that decision. Well, you defamed our image. You defamed our league's character. We are going to punish you for doing that. And they have every right to do so, especially on a contract. So it really wouldn't – I would be shocked if you ended up winning this lawsuit, really.
Yeah, and for a while I've heard, a 1 to 2 year suspension for Deshaun Watson. Over the last couple of days, I've heard anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks.
It changes every day. I see something new every day. Like the Browns are preparing for a year suspension. The Browns are preparing for an 8-game suspension. Yeah. How about we just wait till something happens? Like stop leaking, rumoring things. Just wait till it happens.
He's getting suspended for sure, though.
Yeah, this is locked and loaded.
No chance he's
not.
It's
locked and loaded. Guaranteed at least 8 games. I will call that right now.
I think it was Big Ben. He got 4 games when he had his little public affairs type of thing.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Watson, a lot more alleged victims. So
yes, significantly.
You're looking at least, at a minimum, 4 games. All right, Chase. Well, let's now move on from news. We've talked enough. Let's hop into the main purpose for this episode, and that is the start of the division previews. We're starting with the South divisions, AFC and NFC. Do you prefer one over the other to start with?
Not at all.
All right, let's start with the NFC.
I knew you were going NFC first. That's how I had it read. That's how I had it written out on my sheets.
There's a little more.
That means we're starting with the NFC the whole time going forward.
That's fine.
All right.
Unless you want to flip it every episode.
We could do that too.
Whatever we do, we'll figure it out.
All we know is the North's going to be last.
Yes. AFC and NFC North, absolutely going to be last. That's going to be the finale because you got the 2 best teams in the North. You got the Lions, NFC North, the Bengals, AFC North.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start with the NFC North. This includes the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the New Orleans Saints, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Carolina Panthers. Chase, I'll let you go first. Give me your records, your predictions, who makes playoffs, who doesn't, all that.
So it's interesting. I have one team in the playoffs.
Same. Oh, my gosh. We're so quirky.
But that team only goes 3-3 in the division.
Oh, my gosh. Same. We're so quirky.
But second place in the division and didn't make playoffs, went 5-1 in the division.
Oh. I had second place have a better divisional record than 3-3, but
You're
not
4-2.
Yeah, 4-2.
Fair enough. So it's interesting because I do have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the division, going 12-5 with a 3-3 in division record. Then missing the playoffs, the New Orleans Saints finished second in the division, 8-9 with a 5-1 division record. The Carolina Panthers finished third with a 7-10 record, 1-5 in the division. And the Atlanta Falcons go 5-12, 3-3 in the division.
We're super close here. Literally just one game off for every team, and I'm one lower for everyone. So the Bucs 11-6, 3-3 record, make the playoffs. The Saints 7-10, the Panthers 6-11, and the Falcons 4-13. Start with the Bucs. Obviously, they have been the dominant force since Tom Brady has come in. When you look at their key additions, you got Russell Gage, Akeem Hicks, Keanu Neal, Logan Hall, and Rashad White through the draft. Subtractions, you're losing Rob Gronkowski, Alex Kappa, Ronald Jones, O.J. Howard, and then they do have that coaching change as Bruce Arians. Did he step down or did he take a higher role within the organization?
I thought it was just like a step down.
Okay, and then Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, took over. So what is it about this team that makes us lead to believe they are the winners of the NFC South?
Tom Brady.
Fair enough.
Really, at the end of the day, Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, if he drops the 20 pounds that he needs to. Rashad White is a tremendous rookie. Chris Godwin's going to be back. Russell Gage is a solid receiver. That offense, it's very talented with a unbelievable quarterback. 45 years old, still going strong, best quarterback of all time. Look at the defense. You got Willie Golston, Vita Vea, Akeem Hicks, Joe Tryon, Devin White, Levante Davis, Shaquille Barrett, Carlton Davis, Mike Edwards, Antoine Winfield, Sean Murphy-Bunting. I mean, it's just a very well-built team, really, at the end of the day. Antoine Winfield does not get enough credit for being one of the top safeties in the league, in my opinion. Then, of course, that linebacker core is tremendous. I'm a huge Devin White fan. They've just got everything in place with Vita Vea, especially being the best run-stopping defensive tackle in the league. Top 2 of the 3 defensive tackle in the league as well. It's just a talented football team at the end of the day. And really not a whole lot has changed from last season, so they're going to continue being a dominant team. They're going to clearly win the division, be pretty safe, and should be a playoff to Super Bowl contender again.
Yeah, I think the only argument you could make is, they got a new head coach, Todd Bowles, defensive coordinator last year. He's in the system.
Nothing's changing.
You and I, we do have them down from last year. They were 13-4 last year. You have them down 1 game. I've got them down 2 games. But overall, the team is still right there.
Yeah, they don't have Chris Godwin, which hurts them a little bit, which maybe if they had him full season, I'd have him 1 or 2 wins higher. But Todd Bowles is coming in, and literally not much is going to change. It's going to be the same philosophies on offense, same philosophies on defense. It's going to be just like the same regime is still there. It's really not much is going to be changed.
All right, let's talk about the New Orleans Saints. This is a team that I think is super exciting, honestly. We know Alvin Kamara, possible suspension coming up for him, but the fact that they added Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave to the wide receiver room, as well as Michael Thomas, I think it was reported today, maybe it was yesterday, but he will be ready for camp. So Jameis Winston being able to utilize those 3 guys and then Alvin Kamara when he eventually gets back, I think that's super exciting to look at. But overall, I just don't know if the excitement will result to wins.
Yeah, that's kind of where I stand. I think they're a team that's just almost there. They had 20 other quarterbacks in the league to be a playoff team, because right now I can't just put my trust in the Jameis. It's a guy that hasn't had a strong history of being dominant while also being sound in terms of avoiding turnovers, all that type of stuff. He can play dominant offensively, but he's going to throw 4 picks as well. That's always been Jameis' problem. If he can find a way to reel that in, then things could be different. Maybe he can become a more consistent type guy, but in this point in his career, you can't really see that happening. I really do like everything else that is really around that team, though. The offense, it's nice, of course. It's a good receiving core. You got Alvin Kamara, whereas, right now he might not play some games too, and that could really change some things as well. But if he does play all the games, you got one of the best running backs in the league. And even, just looking back on the defense with Tyrann Mathieu, with Marcus May, I'm a big Paulson Adebo fan. He had a great season last year. Got Tamaro Davis as well. Pete Werner is going to be a pretty good linebacker in the league for quite some time. They've got enough in place where things very well could go right, and they could sneak into the playoffs. But I just think they're 1 step away from being that playoff team.
Yeah, and you and I have them actually down from their finish last year. They went 9-8 last year. But two giant pieces they lost for them. They addressed it by going after the positional needs, but it's still a downgrade. I mean, you look at Marcus Williams, the safety, and Teron Armstead, the tackle. You go out, get Trevor Penning in the draft. Nice, great young piece, very physically dominant, but he's not as refined, not nearly as refined as Teron Armstead or, any of the guys that were, the top couple linemen in the draft. And then you go out, get Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May, really solid players. I could see being a really solid safety duo, but I personally think Marcus Williams is better than both of these guys.
Yeah, it's definitely fair. I can understand that argument, but it's nonetheless a very sound defensive back group. You can't say that it's bad by any means. I don't even think I mentioned Marshall Lattimore or C.J. Gardner-Johnson either.
Yeah.
It's a very talented defensive back group. It's something you don't have to worry about with this team. And at the end of the day, if you can have that as a roster, that's nice. Even if there is, this guy that left, he is better than who all we had. Okay, that's fine. But you don't have any holes still anyway. So what does it matter? If you don't have any holes in your defensive back group, that's a huge advantage as an NFL team.
Mm-hmm. The Saints. Yeah. Looking pretty dangerous on the outside on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
You think Michael Thomas has a decent year, or what are you thinking?
I don't know, man. You look at Jameis Winston obviously loved Mike Evans, still utilized Chris Godwin when he could as well too, but loved Mike Evans. Was a little bit better downfield and good enough and getting those balls for him. So I think that's going to be more of, if I had to choose a favorite receiver from this team to be the best one for them, it's going to be Chris Olave. He's the one that I'm going to bet on having the best season of all three. But I think Michael Thomas, he does have a chance where he can come out and maybe reestablish himself a little bit. Maybe not quite the 190 target guy and be back to what he was, but if he can get 120 targets and catch 80 balls, that's a great season for him.
And I think this wide receiver room really could go either way because we know Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas have had injury issues in the past. If they're slow coming out or they get injured again, you could go from a super exciting roster or wide receiver room to one that's really lacking the depth that they hope to see. So, but now we'll move on to the Carolina Panthers. You and I both have them third in the division. They finished last in the division last year. Why do we think they make a jump this year?
Well, there's a big difference between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. I'm not going to lie. If it was still Sam Darnold at the helm, this was my favorite to finish with bottom two in the NFC. But Baker Mayfield gets them 4 or 5 more wins. Well, legitimately. He is a better quarterback than he gets credit for. He legitimately is. The talent around him is nice. It's a great receiver room with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. Terrace Marshall, I think, is bound to have a better season. I mean, he's going to have a better season than he did last year. Didn't do anything. So he should be in a good spot. Really, the problems when you're looking at the roster is how good is this offensive line going to be? They got Ike Ekwonu, and that's nice. Taylor Moan's a solid tackle, too. Inside, are they going to be dominant? They're going to struggle. Who knows? It's kind of a wait-and-see approach. Tight end, very underwhelming at the moment. Ian Thomas, Tommy Trumbull, one of those two guys are going to be your number ones. And then the defense they just need to take that next step. They really haven't yet under Matt Rule, but we've looked at them and we've seen the J.C. Hornet, the C.J. Henderson trade, the Jeremy Chins, Derek Brown, Brian Burns. They've got these individual pieces. They just gotta finally take that step, and I think they're gonna take strides in the right direction. But at the end of the day, this roster is limited because it's a brand new quarterback coming in pretty late into the process. Even if Baker did go on and have a great season like he did with the Browns when they went to the playoffs, I just think there's still too many deficiencies, and he's going to be too behind the curve trying to get in, where it's going to be a little bit of a slow starter that they're not going to be able to recover.
I do want to mention quickly on the offensive line that you talked about. You and I both loved Ekwonu coming out.
Yep.
But also they addressed the inside with Bradley Bozeman from the Ravens and Austin Corbett from the Rams. This is a team that kind of went under the radar for offensive line upgrades. We know the Bengals went out and did some big moves. We know the Dolphins, they went out and got the biggest offensive linemen in free agency. But I didn't really realize how well the Carolina Panthers did in addressing the offensive line situation. But
that's fair.
I do want to talk about, and you're not going to like this conversation, but I think it needs to be had. What if Baker Mayfield's not the starter week 1? Because here's the thing. He's coming in so late. You just mentioned, he's very late to the curve. Sam Darnold, he's been in the system. They brought in Ben McAdoo this offseason. He's been with Ben McAdoo all offseason. Baker Mayfield's coming in super late. I don't know how healthy Baker Mayfield is. He might be 100%, but even if he is, like we're saying, it's still a playbook he's going to have to completely learn. Also, I feel like Baker Mayfield's just got to have insane performance, or Sam Darnold's got to have an absolutely terrible performance in preseason for it to be a guarantee. And the thing is, the Carolina Panthers didn't draft Baker Mayfield first overall. So there's no guarantee. There's no pressure on them to put Baker Mayfield as the guy. Now, I think Baker Mayfield will be the guy. I think Baker is the better quarterback. But I think there's definitely a conversation to be had that Baker Mayfield might not be the guy when week 1 comes around.
No, it's fair. And it's kind of the nice thing about that, even if Sam Darnold starts, they're playing the Browns week 1, assuming Deshaun Watson doesn't play. I think that's a game that even if Sam Darnold plays, as long as the Panthers remain competent, they got a chance to win. Sure, the Browns defense is going to be hard to beat, but they could do it. And then week 2, they have the Giants. So no matter who's starting quarterback, the Giants are terrible this year. Spoiler alert. So they should be able to beat them. So they're going to have the advantage of having that start, even if Baker is slow starting. But then you got to play the Saints. They got to play the Cardinals. They got to play the Niners. They got to play the Rams. So if Baker's up to speed, then they have a chance to win those games. If he's not, Sam Darnold's not going to win those games. I haven't seen enough from him to say that. So it is going to be tough. That's why I think it'll be more of a slow starting type thing where once Baker's fully acclimated, the team takes the right strides at the end of the year, maybe just enough strides where Matt Rule doesn't lose his job, because it is kind of a put up or shut up type of year for him, where if he doesn't show enough that he's going to get the can. So maybe they do it well enough at the end of the year where he gets to keep that job, and that's kind of how I envision their season going.
You and I talked about it last year where we think Sam Darnold's issues might have to do with confidence issues. Mm-hmm. Definitely don't think it would be good for a person with a lack of confidence to bring in super high competition like Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
But Sam Darnold has said this year that he thinks he can still be an elite quarterback in this league. And I don't know. I'm very interested to see how it plays out, because if we get a Sam Darnold that really competes his ass off and puts the maybe lack of confidence issues that we thought he might have had, puts those behind him and goes all in here, I don't know. It's not likely that you see a quarterback in his 5th season make that breakout. But if he can beat Baker Mayfield, there's the track to it.
Yeah, it's possible, but I just don't know how much stake I want to put in it, because at the end of the day, I think Baker's the one that plays more games than Sam Darnold. I really do.
This is what I'm rooting for. Baker Mayfield in game 1, he beats the Browns. Then eventually Matt Corral gets the start and takes over from there.
No, that's fine.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I had Matt Corral as a very highly rated prospect. I can't believe he went as low as he did, so I've got no issues with that. I think he is in a decent spot where if things go wrong, he's just the guy next year. Like Baker will be moved on from, and Darnold will be moved on from, and they're just going to go with Corral, whoever the new staff would be.
Yeah. Finally, the Atlanta Falcons, the big departure here, obviously Matt Ryan, but then they bring in Marcus Mariota and draft Desmond Ridder to try to replace. Also through the draft, they get Drake London, Arnold Ebiketie. So this is a much younger team, not a team we have a lot of hope for.
No, not really. There might be some okay fantasy football options because it should probably end up being a higher volume passing offense because they're going to be playing from behind. But in terms of actual football, it's just not super talented. I would have to guess by week 8, maybe week 9, we see Desmond Ridder getting the start. I
hope so.
I don't think Mariota lasts more than half a season. If their bye was earlier in the year, I would say after the bye, but they don't have a bye till week 14, so I can't imagine them waiting that long because the season's not going to be going well. So Ridder's going to have to get in there somewhere, and I think they're going to play better under Ridder. Right now, I have them, finding 2 wins early in the season. They're going to beat the Bucs at some point. I just really have that feeling, and right now I have them beating the Bucs in right now in week 5 instead of week 18. It really could go either way, and I could very well see the being opposite, and the Bucs maybe rest their guys, but if that does happen, the Bucs do win, then the Falcons, I have them as 1 win through the first 7 weeks. At that point, they're looking at, all right, we're really just preparing for next season. Desmond's shown us enough. We put decent draft capital into him. He's a talented quarterback. He's ready to go. And I think we see him play from there. Hopefully he plays all right. But right now, there's just really not enough around that team to really have any faith in it. Yeah, Kyle Pitts is going to be awesome. More likely than not. Yeah, Drake London's looking super, super fun too. On defense, AJ Terrell is a ridiculously slept on cornerback. But there's just still so many holes that need to be filled.
Yeah. And it's just so young. And the thing is, too, is Cordell Patterson, we know how awesome he was last year. I don't see a repeat of that. And then if you're looking for your number 2 guy, you got the guy out of BYU. What's the running back's name?
Tyler Algier.
Yeah, Tyler Algier, which I think fantasy-wise, the opportunity is all there. But Chase and I talked about him on our running back show. Not a guy that we're big fans of.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, day 3 running backs very rarely ever turn into anything, and he was a 5th-round pick. For a guy whose talent we didn't like, I don't have much faith. Even if the opportunity is there, I just don't have very much faith.
Yeah. So, a tough little season for Atlanta, according to us. But we'll see. They performed pretty well last year, going 7-10. Maybe they'll make us shut our mouths. But personally, I think Matt Ryan's much better than Marcus Mariota. So,
yeah, I don't think that's very much of a debate.
Maybe.
Mariota, he very well could. He's fun to watch when he's playing well. He's fun to watch, but he hasn't had a lot of those stints in the NFL.
Right.
Like when he's throwing touchdowns to himself, those moments are great. When you're winning fantasy matchups because of it, those moments are great. But I don't think we're going to be seeing much of that this year.
Mariota, baby.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's now move to the AFC South. This is a division that you take a lot of pride in because the Jags are your second pride and joy. The Texans are like your 5th pride and joy. You're basically Johnny with the AFC South.
The Texans are my 5th pride and joy.
Don't you love them? I thought you did.
I don't love them, but I don't think I think Davis Mills gets unfairly slandered.
See, I'm just looking at the division. I see the Tennessee Titans. I think gross. Alec likes the Tennessee Titans. I see the Colts. I'm like gross. Chris likes the Colts. I see the Houston Texans. I'm like I feel bad, but also they costed themselves. Like, they're kind of dumb for doing everything that they've done. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think Chase, gross. So
I think you're gross. How's that?
That's fine.
Whatever.
All right, well, last year the division finished as Titans on top with the Colts missing the playoffs because of their loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Houston Texans 4-13, and the Jaguars 3-14. That led to them getting the first overall pick. And Trayvon Walker. Chase, I know you're a huge fan of that pick. So let me know why you have the Jags as the number 1 team in this division.
I would love to.
But it's not going to happen.
I would love to, but it's just I can't.
All right, go over your divisions, please. Or your standings.
I mean, number 1, again, 1 team makes playoffs. Indianapolis Colts are going 11-6, 5-1 in the division. I think that's not really a debate that they're going to finish number 1. Number 2, I do have the Jacksonville Jaguars at 6-11, going 4-2 the division. Number 3, the Tennessee Titans go 6-11, go 2-4 in the division, and then 4, the Houston Texans do go 4-13 and 1-5 in the division.
Okay, I've got the Colts 10-7, and making the playoffs, of course. 4-2 in the division. I've got the Titans going 8-9, but they do miss the playoffs. The Jags 5-12, and then the Texans 2-15. So I'd like to give them a couple more wins. There's a couple of teams in here, like the Giants, that I don't know why I just couldn't muster giving them a win over specific teams. So that's why Texans pretty low on my my rankings here, or my predictions.
Should I give a spoiler alert just because we mentioned the Giants and how bad they are?
Sure.
They are my last place team in the NFL this year.
They're tied for last. I've got 3 teams, all 2-15.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
No, it's not. I know that for sure. But when I'm looking at the schedule overall, I can't give them wins over
that's fair.
Some of these other teams.
And I understand that, and that's why I try to find, like for the Texans, we'll talk about it when it comes up, I try to find scenarios where, okay, if this happens, they could win. And try to, because there's going to be a random win that they get in there. So I try to figure out what the random win that might be. But we'll start off with the Colts, because we both have them at number 1. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's really much of a debate. I mean, you got Matt Ryan coming in. Should be an upgrade from Carson Wentz. This really could be a team that I think could go one way or the other. I think they could possibly exceed 11 wins and become dominant, or they could also go south and flat out, and just not like flat out miss, but win the division, just like flat out not be a real competitor in the playoffs. Because when you look at Matt Ryan, you look at his history in the league, he's just so bad in the red zone. It's incredible. But Jonathan Taylor, on the other hand, is this just incredible running back who's built to dominate in the red zone. So this could be combined for a lethal combination, or if Jonathan Taylor's efficiency was too hard to repeat last year, things could flop pretty hard. But I do have more faith on the positive than the negative. I think Matt Ryan coming in is great for the offense. When you look at really the top two receivers, Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce for me, yeah, Paris Campbell's going to play, but I don't really have that much faith in him. I think both those guys are going to be great. I think Alec Pierce is going to be an incredibly slept-on, underrated rookie receiver this year. I loved his talent coming out of Cincinnati. I think he's going to fit perfectly for what the Colts are trying to do. The offensive line is very solid. Obviously, you got Quentin Nelson, who is arguably the best offensive lineman in the league. That really helps the case. And even someone like Nyheim Hines, I keep seeing things like, be ready. I mean, take me in your fantasy drafts. Like he's being slept on. Even Frank Reich said that. Like, draft me in your fantasy team this year. I think Nyheim Hines is going to get really used. Maybe we see him play some slot receiver or something like that. I don't know, but I think this offense has the potential to be pretty fun. And then the defense, I mean, it's got my favorite linebacker in the league in Darius Leonard. They added Stephon Gilmore. Julian Blackmon is a very solid safety in the league. Kwity Paye, I think, is going to have a hell of a year, and I'm a big DeForest Buckner fan. They've got all these pieces in play that I really like. I think this team's got some solid potential, and as long as Matt Ryan can come in, it's not always easy for a first-year quarterback, or like a quarterback in his first year of the team. Mm-hmm. So if he can come in and show that, yeah, I took this offense, I grasped it all, and we're going to be good, then I think this is a legitimate playoff and Super Bowl contender.
I think that this is obviously a playoff team, but I just feel like they're going to be the Titans last year, if I'm being honest. The Titans had a better regular season. They got the bye. I don't think that the Colts are going to do that, but I think they're going to be competitive all the way through, but I just don't see them taking a round in the playoffs or even taking 2 rounds. I don't know.
It really depends on who they get matched up against for me.
If I'm being honest, I think the AFC South is the worst division in football. And let me make the argument, because obviously a lot of people will argue that it's the NFC East, which makes a lot of sense. But I personally see the Eagles and the Cowboys as having much higher upside than any of the teams in the AFC South. I think the Jags with Trevor Lawrence, if Trevor Lawrence comes along and can really produce at that next level, awesome. You love to see that. But as of right now, would not be shocked if the Commanders finish better than the Jags did. Because I still love the Commanders' defense. We'll talk about them more in our East episode. And then I think the Giants and the Texans, both bottom 3 teams in the league. So I personally have this division as being the last division in the league. And so even though the Colts are the top of it, I don't think it's all that impressive.
My records happen to work out the same way, where they are the worst in the league. The next closest is actually the NFC North. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
And it's the only reason is because I have both those divisions only having one playoff team, where like the NFC East, I have 2 playoff teams and then 2 teams that are not very good. So I am in the same boat as you, where this division as a whole isn't very good. And I think, there's not really much excitement to be had. Do the Colts, the only team, really have optimism for the playoffs? The Jags have optimism for the future, but it really should just be a cakewalk for the Colts.
Right. Well, you have the Jags second, but with the same record as the Titans. So let's hit the Titans first, because I have them 4 games ahead of the Jags. I think the Titans are still a sound team. I think Ryan Tannehill's not great. I think Derrick Henry's going to slow down massively. I think the offense overall definitely not going to be as good, but that defense is still really good, led by Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard. I think that they're still going to be very competitive in games, just not enough to get them over the hump. I've got them at 8-9. Let's see, who are some of their big wins, if I can find them quickly. The Eagles. That's like their only big win. But that still gets them to 8-9. So
yeah, I'm looking at mine right now. I mean, really, their biggest win, I actually do have them beating the Chiefs right now.
Okay.
Because the Chiefs are going to lose to some teams they shouldn't lose to. It's just going to happen, and the Titans could be one of those teams. But I It's just a football team to me. Like,
that's how I feel about this whole division. Except the
Yeah.
Jags, they do have a little bit of excitement, a little upside,
Yeah.
but the whole division, I kind of just feel like they are what they are.
yeah, like Tannehill is not really someone I consider a starting quarterback watching the NFL anymore. I think he's on his way out. Malik Willis, I think, will get some starts at some point in the season. Derrick Henry, I have more optimism than you do, but I'm also still doubtful at the same time.
I mean, I don't think he's going to be like, I don't think he's going to fall off the face of the universe.
Yeah,
but
I think fantasy-wise, he still very well be a top 5 running back this year. Like I think that's pretty safe.
5.
Yeah, just because he's going to get so much work. So as long as he stays healthy, he'll be all right. And then, the receiving core with Robert Woods and Traylon Burks, I like both those guys a lot, and I'm a big Traylon Burks fan, but Robert Woods coming off of a big injury. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays. That offensive line, it's in an interesting spot. You got some younger guys, Dylan Radion's going to step in, hopefully play a big role. Taylor Lewan has been a little bit of an underwhelming player in his NFL career. And then on the defense, it's just kind of, you looked at him and like this, like a couple years ago, it looked like it was like this team's going to win off of their defense. But then nowadays, it's just like, they've got some fine pieces. I'm a huge Caleb Farley fan, and that's been pretty evident on this podcast. Jeffrey Simmons is a tremendous defensive tackle, but it's not like it's like star-studded by any means. It's just another defense.
Yeah, I feel like it's Mike Vrabel, too. That's why I've got them higher than you. I think Mike Vrabel actually does have an effect similar to, not at the same level, but similar to like a Bill Belichick. Like, he runs his ship so tight that you know what you're going to get from them, even if some of their players are falling off.
It's it's fair. I can understand that. I don't think Mike Vrabel deserves to be fired at all, but I think the season's going to go. I said I don't think he deserves to be fired.
I know, but to start with that's like starting. Hey, don't take this offensively, but
I just don't have very much optimism for the season. I think things are going to be pretty disappointing. It's going to be really Derrick Henry's show, and that's about it. They need to find. Hopefully, Malik Willis is the guy at quarterback. Of the faith that I have in him, hopefully that plans out. But if not, they need to find that guy at quarterback very quickly.
All right, let's move to the Jags. The most exciting or most optimistic a team could be in this division, unless you're a Colts fan and think Matt Ryan's the savior.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you have the Jags 6-11, is that right?
I do have the Jags 6-11.
I've got them 5-12, so very close. However, would you be shocked if they came out and put up like 8 or 9 wins?
Shocked? I don't want to go as high as shocked. I want to go more surprised. So like shocked is here and surprised is here. I don't think I can make that jump. I'd be like, oh, I'm kind of surprised. I'm like, holy shocked. It's just like they can't believe they did that, because at the end of the day, when you watch Trevor Lawrence play college football, I mean, tremendous NFL talent. When you watch Travis Etienne play, electric football player. James Robinson, when he was healthy in his NFL career, has been a dominant running back. If he can get back, then that's a promising sign. The receiving core between Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, and then whoever the hell is going to end up being number 3, whether it's Zay Jones or Visca Chanel, those guys those two like spots are underwhelming. But the first two, they're perfectly good NFL receivers. They're not like great NFL receivers, but they're perfectly good. Marvin Jones is a dominant red zone target, believe it or not. He's great in the red zone. And the offensive line is really where the problems come on offense. It's just I don't have a lot of faith in it. So it's going to be interesting to see on that aspect. But really, if they get that amount of wins, it's going to be because his defense comes out and is a top 5 unit in the league.
I was going to ask you, what do you think about the defense and the possible usage of Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, and Chad Muma, top picks for the Jacksonville Jaguars in this most recent draft? We know Miles Jack, he's out. They replace him with 2 linebackers, and then I know you didn't think Trayvon Walker should have been the first overall pick, but do you think he's got some capability to help them out this year?
So I'm going to put things in perspective. I don't know if you plan on asking about MVPs, rookies, years, and stuff in this. Like we talked about them in previous years when we did division previews. So I prepared them just in case, but I do have my top 2 defensive rookie of the years from this division, both Devin Lloyd and Trayvon Walker.
Okay.
I think I'm putting money on players this year for defensive rookie of the year. Those are probably 2 of my favorite bets. Not because I necessarily think Trayvon Walker's in. I don't know if he's. In my opinion, he wasn't the best player in the draft. Like he just wasn't. But he's gonna get used very clearly. Being the first overall pick, they're gonna rely on him pretty heavily. Use him in a multitude of aspects. Maybe he can outperform what I expect. But I think Devin Lloyd just locked low, just being such a good, steady linebacker from day one. So those guys are gonna be really nice, stabilizing pieces for that defense. And then Chad Muma, they got Foyce Olakun, or however you say his last name. I think it's how you say it. But they've got him as well. So him and Chad Muma are both gonna get playing time, I would assume. Maybe they use it when they're using Trayvon Walker as more of like a rushing type guy, or maybe like interior. Maybe they can get Chad Muma on the field more that way. But when you got Josh Allen, the defensive back group is solid with Shaquille Griffin, Darius Williams, Andre Cisco. It's all solid. I think this team has the potential to kind of exceed expectations, but I don't really want to put my faith in it either.
Yeah, I think that they could have a lesser Cincinnati Bengals season if we see Trevor Lawrence play up to his potential. Because I think the big difference and the reason why we're not putting our eggs in that basket is because we saw what Joe Burrow did in his rookie season. He looked great before the injury, and then they just continued to add pieces like Jamar Chase. And so it was easy to say, okay, I think this is a playoff team. The Jags, we haven't quite seen it from Lawrence yet at that next level, and the high-end ceiling of some of their skill players not really there.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. If they had even one of the Bengals receivers, talent-wise, for T. Higgins or Jamar Chase on this team, I would have a lot more faith in it. If they had two receivers like that, then I would probably have them as a borderline playoff team, to be honest, because I do have a lot of faith in Trevor Lawrence. I think he takes a good step this year.
Yeah, I've got a lot of biasy, so you can let me know if you disagree, but I think Tyler Boyd's even better than Kirk and Marvin Jones.
I don't know about Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk, because they're both, those are two good comparables because they both kind of just man the slot. I think Christian Kirk's probably a little bit better of a slot guy and a little guy I trust a little more, but I don't think it's far. And who knows? Christian Kirk might get used on the outside because, Evan Ingram, if you look at his career targets, he has 60% of his career targets are from the slot or something like that. Mm-hmm. So maybe he use him in the slot and Christian Kirk is using the outside and it becomes a different type of receiver. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
Absolutely. Finally, the Houston Texans. Not a lot of faith for either of us, but
I feel for my boy Davis Mills because it's not his fault.
It's not, and it's going to be sad because he's going to lose his job.
Yeah, he is, and I hope someone else gives him the opportunity if they need a quarterback. I hope that a team, if Malik Willis doesn't work out, a team like Tennessee takes the chance on him, maybe something like that. It sucks. You look at this team and it sucks.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks is a ridiculously underrated wide receiver. I think he's going to be awesome for fantasy this year because he's going to get targeted like a mofo in a very high passing offense because they're going to have no choice. But outside of that, Nico Collins has yet to really show anything. Didn't really have much opportunity. John Mechie's a rookie. That offensive line is, the left side I like with Larry Tunsil, Kenny Green. The rest I'm not a fan of. Justin Brett's maybe fine as a center, but nothing more than fine. Tight end Brevin Jordan. I like him, but is he going to have the year 2 breakout? No, I felt like he was more of a year 3 breakout guy the whole time. The defense, it's young. There's really no other way to say it, but all the talent is young, and Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, Christian Harris, those are all young guys. Even Malik Collins is a bit younger. It's just you just gotta be patient with this team. It's not going to be something that is very consistent. They're going to have great games where they're like, okay, this is promising for the future, but it's only going to happen once or twice in the season. That's really kind of what you got to expect for the Texans. It's just a really mix of a super young team that is kind of intentionally becoming they're kind of intentionally blowing things up because of the shape that they were left in after the Bill O'Brien era. They haven't really been able to recover. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, Davis Mills is going to be a casualty of that terribleness.
He's going to get the David Culley treatment. Because you and I talked about David Culley, obviously not a great year at 4-13 last year. But again, it's not his fault. Yeah. I mean, the team overall just had no talent. And I know as a coach and as a leader, you are responsible for how the team performs. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. But if you have literally the worst roster on paper that we've seen in a long while, what do you expect?
Yep.
Even Bill Belichick wouldn't be successful with the team. Also, they didn't do anything huge in free agency. I know they went out and signed some players. I was going through with every single team, looking at some of the big additions. The 4 additions I have for the Texans are all rookies, with Derek Stingley, Kenyon Green, Jalen Petrie, and Dameon Pierce.
They literally went and got the best running back in the league, Marlon Mack.
Oh, how could I forget?
Yeah, he had the 1,000-yard season before he blew up his Achilles.
True.
Silly goose.
I think Dameon Pierce is the lead back by the end of the season. I find him very talented.
I think Dameon Pierce is a lead back by like week 3. I don't even think it takes that. I really don't think it takes that long because it's like, oh, Marlon Mack has no juice. Rex Burkhead, icky.
Goat.
Royce Freeman, Dario Ngomawale, icky. Like it's just there's just not a lot there really. It's gonna be Dameon Pierce because he's better than a 4th round pick. I think he was someone that should have probably gone on day 2. So he's going to go in, and I think he's going to take over the job quicker or sooner rather than later. And I hope it's just to start week 1, but I don't think it's going to be the way. I think they're just going to give benefit of the doubt to Marlon Mack.
I feel like all of our conversations with this whole division has just been, we're a bit underwhelmed.
Yes.
Because that's just the truth.
It's just an underwhelming football division. And the Colts have the best chance of having success. If things really go right for them, Matt Ryan plays right, then they could be that team. And I understand Mike's reservations as well. Is like, are they really that good? I don't know. I can understand all of that. It's just not going to be a division football. Thankfully, I don't have to watch a lot. The Jags, who I support, I'm still going to, check them out and stuff. But I'm not like obligated to watch them week in, week out like I am with like the NFC North.
You're probably not going to know this, but I want to ask just in case you do. Do you know the odds for the Jags winning a division?
I do not.
Because that's something I'd be super interested in actually looking at. Because I think the Colts have the best chance to be, the team that does something out of this division. But I think the Jags are honestly too. Even though I have the Titans as the number 2 team in this division and with a better record, I think the potential for the Jags actually being able to do something, make the playoffs, and do something in the playoffs is much higher than the Titans. I
think you got the Titans at their ceiling, really. And the Jags, maybe they have a bit of a higher ceiling because it's just such a young team. Maybe they do take the right steps. I'm trying to find those for you right now. So the conference and division winners, let's go down to the AFC South. The Jags are plus 750. It's not as big of odds as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, because
I think the Bengals last year were like plus 2,000.
Yeah, probably something like that. Like the Titans are second division at plus 160. So Vegas likes the Titans a lot more than I do, apparently. Wow.
Yeah, it comes down to Trevor Lawrence. Like the potential is immense, and if he reaches it, he's easily the best quarterback in this division. That's why we're saying what we are.
Who do you think has the hardest odds to win their divisions?
Of all divisions?
Of all divisions. 2 teams. Choose 2 teams. They have the same odds.
Seattle and the Giants? Or Seattle and I think Seattle's one of them for sure.
You know what's very funny?
They're not.
They're both teams we talked about in this episode today. It's the Texans and the Falcons. Both are plus 2,500. The Jets, your precious Jets, are like, oh, go play the sleeper. And then we're plus 2,400 now. They were plus 2,000 like a couple weeks ago. Yeah. The Seahawks are plus 1,500. The Giants are plus 700.
Okay, sure, the Giants, not in as good of a division, but the Seahawks are in a division with the Rams, the 49ers, and the Cardinals.
3 teams that are just better than them in literally every single category.
They've got Drew Lock as their quarterback. Or Geno Smith. So, that's terrible. Yeah. And plus 2,400, it went down?
Yeah.
Shit, I'm not getting on top of that. Hell.
You finally placed your first sports bet?
What is it, $10 and I make $240? Is that how it works?
Yep.
Shit. I can spend $10.
They're not beating out the Bills, or are they? We'll save that for the East episode.
Oh. That's a good segue.
Yes, it is.
That's the end of the show. I want to thank you so much for coming out and giving it a listen. Next up, do you want to do East or West next?
I want to do East.
Okay. We'll do East next. The schedule looks as follows. Is that
yes,
how that works?
Yes, as follows. Schedule is as follows.
We got the East next week. The following week, we're going to interrupt with a little hot take episode. Then we're going to be hitting the West and the North the weeks following. And then we've got, I think, 2 more weeks before the season actually starts, so we might do a college football episode and then a final hot takes episode, do a fantasy hot takes, a actual NFL on-the-field football playing hot takes.
Yes, sir.
So it's going to be a fun stretch of episodes coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. It's going to be a joyous time for us because we like doing predictions, even though it makes us look so silly at the end of the day.
I mean, I'm always right.
Didn't you finish? No, you didn't finish last in our predictions
No,
last
I
year.
dominated like 9 weeks. Then I had one bad week and never recovered.
Yeah. I did win, though.
Yeah. I finished like third or something, I think.
Yeah, I think you were third behind Johnny and me. Garrett or Chris, one of them just fell off the face of the planet. Like, huge dive at the end of the season. But anyways, that is the show. I want to thank you so much for coming out and giving it a listen.
By the way, you remember who made me so successful last year? Your Cincinnati Bengals. I picked them every single week.
It's true.
I got to find a team to do that with this year.
Which, to be fair, they went 10-7, so it wasn't like insanely successful.
No, but there was like 4 or 5 wins that they got where I was like one of the few people that picked them.
Yeah,
and that was a big advantage.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Anyway, go ahead.
Can I go?
Yeah,
okay,
you're good now.
Thanks so much for stopping by, giving us a listen and a viewing if you are on YouTube. If you want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can follow us on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. That's again on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. If you're listening on YouTube, if you could please give us a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to turn on notifications. It'll let you know when all of our episodes come out. Down in the comments below, if you do want to let us know your NFC and AFC South division records.
Yes. An interrupting thing. I was checking out my standings and stuff again, like for these two divisions, just looking at some finer details. I did notice I had this for the Jags: 0-9 against winning teams, 6-2 against losing teams.
Ooh, let me go take a peek at that.
So with that in mind, that means I view them as a very middle of the pack type of team.
I see them as 1-8 versus winning teams and 4-4 against losing teams.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway. We're just gonna skip. You heard the YouTube stuff. So
yes.
If you are listening on a podcast platform, if you could please give us a follow and a 5-star rating, we would absolutely love you for it. Thanks so much for stopping by. And as always, we're not professionals. That's the wrong music. As you can see, we're not professionals.